Let's work through some of our budgeting homework and talk about where the answers on the solutions came from. So, in the very first problem, we're given Emily, and Emily has a chip addiction. She buys a bag of chips every 5 days, and each of those bags costs $2.50. And we're told that tax is included, so we're just sort of going to assume the total price there is $2.50, and we're not going to worry about the 7.8% sales tax. We're also told that she once a month treats herself to dip, and that dip costs $6, also including tax. And we want to know how much is she spending on these snacks each year. So the first step is to deal with this 5 days, every 5 days. So it's sort of like, if I had a week, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, I can't do my days of the week. So let me fix that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It would be like if she bought them on Monday, then she wouldn't buy them again until Saturday. Every 5 days she buys. And so it's not like I buy every Saturday. No, it's every 5 days. So the way to sort of figure out how many days she bought chips throughout the year would be to take the total number of days in a year. And for the sake of most of these, we just say, okay, there's 365 days in a year. I know there's 366 in leap years, but we're just sort of ignoring that for right now. And we divide it into 5 parts because 1/5 of the days she buys chips. And it turns out that she buys chips 73 days throughout the year. All right, each of those 73 days, she then spent $2.50. So if I want the total she spent on chips, I would take that 73 days and I'd multiply it by 250. And I would find that she spent $182.50 on chips throughout the year. Secondly, she also spends money on dip. And so that would be, $6, but she only buys that once a month. So that's 12 times throughout the year. 12 times 6 is $72. And so to get her total yearly expenditures for her chip and dip habit, we would add these two values together and get that she spends a total of $254.50 on chips throughout the year, chips and dip. Next one, we did a similar one in class, but we're given a different SRP power bill. And you'll notice, just like last time, so we are given the spending over the course of the various months. And we want to know on average how much should be budgeted for power throughout the year. Now, looking at these, the key is really just going to be making sure that you add them all correctly in your calculator. This is one where it's a really good idea to use Desmos. And so I'm going to open up Desmos really quick so we get a sense because we want to make sure we're typing everything in correctly. There's always the chance that you mistype something. And when you use your just cell phone calculator, you can't always see if you mistype. And the nice thing with Desmos is, it's showing me right there, okay, good job, I'm typing stuff correctly. Or I can easily sort of go back and scan, and you might be going, but it's disappearing now. But that's what these little arrows are for here. I can sort of arrow forwards and backwards in my thing, and I could get back to the beginning. Just to sort of, I just, when I'm adding a whole list, that's what I like. I want to be able to sort of see where my mistakes might occur, because if you haven't picked up at this point, I make mistakes. It happens. All right, so I got a total amount in the year spent on, oops, I don't want to use highlighter right now. Look, right there, a mistake. So the total we spent was $2,360 was how much Roger spent per year. So if we want his monthly budget, we would need to take this value and divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. And so that means he is spending about $196.67 on power per month. So, if you're doing one of those where you're trying to, save yourself those months of 300 or 320, it might be that you put in $200 every month on electricity, give yourself a little bit of wiggle room there, and sort of make sure that, everything works out all fine and dandy. All right, now let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, gas. So we're going to scoot our calculator off to the side so we can focus in on the problem. You drive an average of 270 miles per week in a car that gets 25 miles per gallon. The gasoline is priced at $3.45 per gallon. What would be the difference if you started driving a motorcycle that gets 84 miles per gallon? So there's a few steps to this. First off, I need to figure out how much it's going to cost me in my original car. So I have 270 miles each week, and I get 25 miles per gallon. So I need to know how many gallons of gas I'm going to basically need per week. So take the 270, and in the original car, we get 25 miles per gallon. And so it's about 10.8 gallons per week. And it's going to cost us $3.47 per gallon. And so it's a little bit of a multiplication. Well, it is a multiplication problem. So I'll take my 347 times 10.8, and I get that it's going to cost me around $37, and we'll round that up, 48 cents for gas originally. So this is the old. Now in the new, and I'm going to switch colors just to sort of differentiate my work. So in the new motorcycle, 270 miles driven, but this time we get 84 miles to the gallon. And so this time we only need 3.2 gallons of gas per week. And so that 347, I'm only multiplying by 3.2. Ooh. So, and it's only going to cost you $11.10 in gas. And the question was, how much do you save, or what is the difference? And so looking between the two, the new, oops, I'm going to switch to a new color. The new minus the old. Ooh, new minus old. Is that an absolute difference? Or an absolute change, actually, in this case. So 37.48 minus $11.10. And so it's 26.38 less. So I deleted stuff. 26.38 less with the new motorcycle. And so what is the difference? It's about $26 of a difference. So that's significant. And it is important on a question like that to differentiate whether, it's going up or going down. It's similar to, it's just a slightly different wording, but it is looking for an absolute change in that case. We don't always use the math term, but it's a little bit of like, oh, I think I know what they're looking for here. All right. Samantha makes a monthly contribution to an animal shelter of $50. So that's monthly. And pays a life insurance premium of $600 twice per year. Prorate these expenses to find the monthly cost. And so this is where we sort of want to make sure our units sort of match up. So I like to take, well, we already have the animal shelter in a monthly. So it's really this twice per year. So twice per year would be half a year, which is 6 months. So if it's $600 per 6 months, then it would be $100 per month. We would divide by 6. And so it's $100 per month for the insurance, plus $50 for the animal shelter each month, which gives us a total of $150 per month. Because remember, when we're making budgets, often we're making them sort of on a monthly basis, so it's really important to be able to take these bigger expenses and then sort of collapse them down. All right, a general habit of college students is to buy lattes or energy drinks, coffee or energy drinks. Suppose that 3 days a week you stop for a coffee. And you typically spend $6.75 for your coffee with tax and tips. So that's the total amount. On test days, you also buy an energy drink. In a month, you may have up to 4 exams. So that's 4 exams per month. For each energy drink, you spend about $5.20 with tax. What is your semester cost for these drinks? Note, a typical semester is about 16 weeks. So there's a little bit of flexibility with this question. So 3 days a week, we stop for a latte. And we have 16 days, 3 days a week. So let's start with that one. So if we have $6.75, we spend that amount 3 days a week. Now, it's saying here, and this is a little bit open for interpretation, and I'm going to criticize my own problem, but it's saying you spend $6.75 for your latte with tax and tip. I'm reading that as tax and tip are included. Maybe you read it as not included. It doesn't hurt to overestimate. So I'm going to treat it as not included, or included, sorry. And so we're just spending a total of $6.75. So 3 days a week. So right here, this gets me my total spent per week. And we were told that there are 16 weeks in a semester. So then I'm going to take that value and times it by 16 to get the total amount I'm spending, or this student is spending on coffee. So we have $6.75 times 3 times 16. And you get $324 on those lattes in the semester. Now, the test one gets a little trickier. So it's saying in a month you typically have 4 exams. Now, you might argue that, okay, well, there are 16 weeks in a semester. 16 divided by 4 gives you about 4 months. So some of you might say there are 16 tests in a semester because 4 months, 4 tests per month, that's 16 tests. We also in class did a similar problem with tuition, and we factored it as 5 months because technically we have like half a month in August or January and half a month in May or December, depending on which semester it is. And so you sort of might treat those as full months. And so you might say, well, then there are 5 months. 5 times 4 is 20. And depending on whether you do 20 tests or 16 tests, you're going to get a different answer. The key is just to be clear on which one you are doing. So I'm going to do 4 months with 4 tests, which give me 16 tests. And the reason I'm going that way is I'm going to make the argument that in August and January, you probably don't have as many tests. In a similar way, in May and December, you also probably don't have as many tests because you're preparing for finals. So I'm lessening the amount of tests to 16. I'm treating it as 4 months. And so together, I'm sort of counting January and May as 1 month. All right, so we have 16 tests. And we said we also buy an energy drink, and so that's $5.20. And so again, it says with tax, so we're assuming tax is included. And so I'm going to times that $5.20 by 16. So $5.20 times 16. And I get $83.20 spent on energy drinks per semester. If you went the route of 20 tests, which would be totally okay to do, you would have had $104 spent on energy drinks. Totally acceptable to do. Don't feel like you did it wrong. It's just you're making a slightly different assumptions than I am. But I explained my assumptions to you. And remember, we talked about in this unit, it becomes really just important to sort of explain where your thinking's going. And if you can justify your thinking, you're doing a great job. I'm so proud of you. So we have 83.20 plus 324 for a total of $407.20 spent on drinks. All right, hopefully you have a somewhat clearer understanding of how to approach all these problems and maybe give you a sort of a jumping off point. The next few questions are a little different, and stay tuned for the next video to see how to handle